Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So the section 1 will have a cloud foundation where we'll talk about the cloud things. Maybe you guys already know about it, which is moreover what virtualization is. So this is like kind of theory, basic root stuff which you should be aware of. I really wanted to know that you guys are aware of this thing. So we'll just do a small, quick introduction of what cloud things are and what is the characteristics of cloud computing, how cloud infrastructure framework looks like, what are the deployment models, what are the service models, and so on. Okay. Then once we know about the basic stuff, what is cloud computing, what's cloud things, and all that, then we'll jump into an AWS, where we'll have a AWS IAM and pen test. We'll talk about what is the shared responsibility model stands for, um, what is AWS console management and AWS CLI is, how do we configure AWS CLI, and how we can use it to do the exploitation. Then we'll talk about a very important term, which is IAM, Identity and Access Management on AWS. Under that, what are roles, what are policies, what are users, identity provider, what is organization unit, what are SCP policies. Then we'll try to I'll try to demonstrate you the web application. How do we open it for everyone, and then we'll have a lab on the pen test. There is a Okay. I'll just categorize you two things over here during the session. We'll have labs. Okay. You can have a lab on the services which we'll talk about, that those services related to specifically security. So you can work on those services. We have another lab which is more over a pen test and exploitation, where we will do the exploitation of wrongly configured um, issues or misconfigurations has been done on EC2 instances or machines or virtualizations, and then how we can extract the informations and how we use IAM CLI to do the pen test on this. Okay, then we'll talk about the S3 bucket overview, like what is S3, what we should look upon, what is that, and then we will continue with the IAM, and we'll talk about pen test and logging and monitoring things on security. So AWS IAM, sorry, S3 bucket policies, what are S3 ACLs, how we can enforce encryptions to S3, what is cross-region replication in S3, how we can force S3 to use CloudFront, S3 pre-assigned URLs, what is Web Identity Federation is, what is Cognito, and all that about. Then we'll do a pen test lab again on S3 buckets. Over here on the top, these are the services which we'll talk about, that too related to specific to security. As in AWS, you have more than 200 services, and as you're working in security, you have to know the one which you work on. So we'll try to cover up that part. So IAM still continues, identity access management part still continues, and then we'll also talk about logging and monitoring. So these things are will we talk about services, and over here I'll do a misconfiguration intentionally, and will give you some commands which you can use to do the exploitation, like for a pen test. Okay, so that we'll see on lab 3. Then we'll do a monitoring and logging stuff on CloudWatch, AWS config, and CloudTrail. What are these? Then section 4, we'll talk about serverless things. What are serverless? Network and pen test, how we do a network and pen test on AWS. And we'll talk about what serverless technologies are and how we can use them. Okay, if we found a Lambda function, then how we can use it, how we can do a pen test to the Lambda functions and look for the secrets. And then we'll talk about KMS, key management service, and other encryptions. This will be about talking about encryptions, how we implement cryptography on AWS. Then we'll talk about what are the other network specific functionality that we should know about. What is CI/CD pipelines, how those are going to be used for the term of security. What VPC looks like, and we'll do a lab of VPC as well. NACL, security group, load balancers, what are those? Best and host, VPC endpoint, and so on. Okay, then we'll have again a pen test lab where we'll create an RDS instance and we'll try to find out the secrets inside an RDS instances. And that will be on section 4. Section 5 will be almost talk about the DOS and WAF and log analysis on AWS and what are the services we have and how do we analyze the logs. If we have a DOS and DDoS attacks, what are the services which we can use to save yourself? What is replication firewall and how we can use it on cloud, that is specific with AWS. What is Shield? What is Athena? How we can use Massey to find out the PII information. Then we'll set up an alert if the root users logs in. What is the root user? That we'll talk about. Then guard duty stuff, artifacts, SES, and security hub. These are the services we'll talk about, which is moreover the concentrating on DOS, WAF, and log analysis. On section 6, we will be talking about automation and pen test at cloud. What are the different, we'll talk about cloud HSM. What is that? Hardware, hardware services. What are the dedicated instances of hardware which we can use to do the encryptions? We will deploy AWS resources using Terraform. We'll see what Terraform looks like and what is the language and how does it impacts and how we can use it in the automation part. Then we'll use a PACU. PACU is just like an exploitation framework of your Metasploit. You have a Metasploit framework in your Kali Linux. Then similarly, we have a PACU, which actually is a complete framework and can perform attacks on the application. Sorry, on the AWS infrastructure, and can give you, sorry, good informations and can help you out to do the exploitation. So PACU, what is that and how we use it? Then what are the vulnerability assessment tools we can build in tools which we can use to do and complete AWS scanning and find it out, a kind of scanner. We'll see that. And what are the best practices to secure AWS resources? And we'll see a very important tool of security auditing, which is a Scout Suite over here. So we'll see that tool, which is kind of scanner and completely open source and can work on different type of clouds. Okay, so that is about the TOC, table of content, which we'll have on, we'll continue with for the 4 days with different sections, which you can see over here. All right, so section 1 is completely theoretical, which we'll talk about. That's just kind of make a base for everyone so that everyone is on the same page. From section 2, we'll be actively looking and doing a penetration testing or doing a pen test on the AWS. So this particular complete training is on cloud security and VAPT, and that too with a specific cloud vendor called AWS. Okay. So yeah, so this is about the 4 of the days TOC, which we'll be following up. During the session as well, I will keep open this, I'll keep this open, this document is open, and if suppose whatever we have, we will cover, I'll just mark them that this we talked about, and this is we covered already. Okay, so I hope the TOC is clear to everyone, and now we can begin with the section 1, which is Cloud Foundation. Okay. During the session, I might can pause myself for several minutes, or sorry, for a minute or so, so that I wanted to know if you guys have any questions related to the topic. We can talk about that. If I got no response within 10 seconds from the crowd, then I will assume that there are no questions and I'll move to the next topic. Anytime you have any questions, let me finish and then you can ask that. You can just note it down anywhere around in your notebook or so. You have any questions, you can ask me around when I'll take a pause, during the training. All right, so I hope this has been pretty much clear. So let's begin begin with also one more thing I would like to set up in your mind. Become free to customize content. If you're planning to have a small book and have all these contents available on that, that's not going to happen. So we will have a references from different areas. Whatever slides or PDF I'll open during the time of training, I'll try to send you through the mail, or we'll try to upload on your portal, which is there on Spring People. Um, but in case you are like specifically looking for what is that, what is this, then I would prefer to go with the AWS document. But in case you're planning, you're having a uh, so you have a mindset that you will get all this content inside of one book. That's not going to happen. This is all, as I said, it's a complete customized course. We'll have a references of the PDF slides or books or the links, but there is no specific content that will deliver you all the stuff. Okay, so I hope I'm clear. All right, so let's move to or let's start with our very first section, which is Cloud Foundation. We'll talk about what virtualization is. I hope most of you guys already knew about it and you're using it, okay, in your day-to-day life. But we'll talk about it just to make a base for everyone. And if you're very well aware of that, that's great. If you're not, you can listen to me on these things of cloud services, deployment models, characteristics of cloud computing, and infrastructure framework, and what's the difference between virtualization and cloud. Okay. Yeah, so having been said so, let's start the session and begin with that. So let me share the other screen.
Hey viewers, trying to get into Devsecops? Enroll for our Devsecops certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so before beginning with cloud computing, um, so this document has been completely referenced from Simply Learn, which you can see on the top right over here. So it's been completely referenced from there. So I would like to thank them as for the support. All right. So yeah, let's begin. Over here, we'll start with Cloud Foundation. As I said, we'll talk about cloud, what is cloud computing and why we need it. Okay. And then we'll talk about virtualization, what is that, and how it's been different. I hope virtualization is most of you guys are already aware of, but still, if you want, we can talk about that and we'll see what are the advantages and disadvantages of virtualization and what is the difference between virtualization and all. So basically, if we talk about virtualization, okay, so before I start and begin with cloud computing, let's talk about what is virtualization. So I hope you know about it, and just want to revise your mind and set your mind on that. Virtualization is basically a process of running a virtual instances, right? Like you run you might be using VMware or VirtualBox, where you're running your virtual instances of a computer system in your actual operating system, right? Most commonly, you run multiple operating system on a computer, right, simultaneously, and then you run applications on top of the virtualized machine. So you have that virtualizations. Okay, so virtualization, nothing but a process of running virtual instances of a computer system in a layer abstracted from the actual hardware. You have other layers on top of your operating systems. So what happens is, like, there are many reasons why people use virtualization in computing. Like you might need you might need one server which have a good hardware in OS, and you wanted to have multiple applications running on that, and you wanted to have administrations of different servers and all that systems. Then you use this virtualization concept. Okay, and on the top of it, you use this virtualization concept in order to run your multiple instances on a top of operating system. Okay, so let me share a very, as before I begin this, let me share a screen of a good virtualize tutorial. So give me a minute. So all right, so I'll share a quick image with that virtualization image, because images speaks 1,000 words. So let me just take you the image through. Okay, this is how your virtualization looks like. So if I scroll it a bit over here, so you have, excuse me, sorry. Okay, so you have, when you work on a virtualization, then you have a hardware. On that, top of that, you have a virtualization host, and on top of that, you have VM. Okay, you have different virtual VMs, which is like running virtual machines, and those VMs will have different OS, right? They can have Windows, you can have Linux, they can have Mac, any other operating system you talk about. Okay, and then you have all these things will be hosted on virtualization host, and then you will have a hardware which actually connects with you with your, so if I take this as an option, so you have a virtual guest servers, which is like your virtual machines, then you have a virtualization layer, and then your physical host server. That's your actual machine. This is your virtualization layer, where you use Hyper-V, VMware, VirtualBox, different tools in order to connect with your host server, or communicate with the machine of like actual server, and then you have virtual machines on the top of it. So what happens in the virtualization is, when you wanted to work on concentrating on segmentation, or you wanted to concentrate on different operating systems, you wanted to use different operating systems in your current host server, then you use this virtualization concept where you use a different operating system, and then you host it on the top of virtualization layer, where you have Hyper-V and VMware, and then on the top, on just below that, you have a host server of it. Okay, so basically in virtualization, as I said, virtualization is a process, where virtualization is basically a process of running your virtual instances of computer system in
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
in layer abstracted from the actual hardware. Okay, so most commonly you can refer it to run multiple operating system on a computer system simultaneously. Okay, so this is a concept of virtualization, and whenever a user wants to have a separate instances of different operating system, then we use a concept of virtualization. Okay, now the question is, or you might be hearing this recently from last 2 or 3 years. Um, there's a concept called Docker and serverless things. You might be hearing of that topics, or the lot of noise has been cleared out from the sorry, from the last 2 or 3 years. So What is that? We'll talk about later. But for here, you can think of virtualization is what I said. There's been different operating system you wanted to use it, or you can imagine that it's a technology that's basically let you create useful IT services using resources that are traditionally bound to the hardware, so they are the one which have a different operating system, and what we run on the different operating system, we run different services. Okay, but now you might be hearing Docker or container services, which we'll talk about later. On the servers, we have a different architecture and different ways of speaking when we compare virtualization with with containers and Docker services. Okay, so over here, what virtualization is, we talked about that, like what is virtualization and how does it looks like. All right, to understand it, a very good architecture over here has been given. You have a different apps that runs on a different, and then you have a VM, you have a guest OS, then you have a virtual machine, then you have a sorry, you have a hypervisor, then you have a hardware. Okay, so these are the things which goes on here. They have given you a container observation, how what container services are and how does it looks like. Okay, so we'll talk about that. We are not here to compare these two services. We are here to just learn what virtualization is, and as you're using it in your day-to-day life, so I hope you're already aware of it and you know pretty much better on the virtualization phases. Okay, so yeah, so this is about virtualization, and why we are learning or why we talked about that is because I'm going to compare virtualization with cloud computing very soon. But as I said, we use virtualization on different as you're using it in different or in your day-to-day life. I would like to know, what do you think from your point of view? What do you guys think? What are the advantages of virtualization, like why we should use a virtualization? One thing we talked about, that we wanted to use a different operating systems altogether. What else you think? That's a process, right? What do you think? What is the advantages of using a virtualization? So let me know your thoughts on this. So I'll again keep myself as a silent, and would like to know what your thoughts on that. What do you think the advantages of virtualization?
I guess
Yeah, hi. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Basant.
guess
So we can use a single hardware and we can host multiple virtual machine.
Hmm.
Yes,
So do you think it's a advantage or it's a disadvantage?
the advantage. So single hardware, like we are using for network info, we are purchasing a single box, single hardware box, and we are creating multiple virtual firewall.
Hmm.
Yes. So this is the
Okay.
advantage. Yeah.
So can I correlate it with the term called as you are using one hardware and doing that, and it's there in the architecture as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I consider this as being, or can I correlate it with we use virtualization as it is cheaper? Can this cheaper thing covers your covers what you want to say, like you don't have to do the infrastructure of IT and install any other things, you don't have to work on the hardware of, you don't get the networking and all that stuff has been completely taken care of, so we don't have to do the investment on other things, so it's much more cheaper, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, correct.
Exactly. What else? So it is cheaper, that's one advantage. What else?
also my understanding is, let's say if I want to run not an application in one system, it will be very complex to maintain the configuration stuff. So instead, if we run multiple VMs, we can isolate from each other.
Yes, isolation is the key. Yes. Yeah, so we can think of as an isolation. That's the second advantage. What else, guys? So
And maintenance also will be easy.
maintenance would be easy. That's like it reduces the workload.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maintenance we talk about, it's also offers a better uptime period, right? Do you think that it's give you a better uptime?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as Kanan said, we have a different isolation. So deployment of the resources would be easy, right? Where as you have a different isolations, you know where to go and where to deploy, right? Where to fix it.
Yes, right. Also, let's say I want to shut down one of the application. If I'm running in the hardware operating system, I have to shut down the whole operating system, whereas the 10 application will go off. When we use
Yeah, yeah.
virtualization, I mean, if I want to shut down one of the application, the specific VM can be turned off and other will run in production, or it will be running as it is.
Great. That could be segregation of duties, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Great. That's really good to know that you know virtualizations, guys. So these are the advantages which we talked about, right? And everything has been recorded. So if you want to later on plug and play around what we talked about, you can see on the recordings as well. What do you think? These are the advantages. What is the disadvantage of virtualization? What do you think? Like, do we have a disadvantage, or it's okay? We don't have any disadvantage on that.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Sorry. Yes, cost. High cost of implementation. High cost of implementation. Yes, the hardware which we'll buy for the implementation, we will have a high cost on that. Yep. Yes. May I know who is speaking? Your voice is very low. Okay, Nagi. All right. So one Nagi has given us a point that we have a high cost of implementation. That's the one point. We have to buy a good hardware when we are going to implement that. What else?
I think if the host system goes down, I think all the other apps hosted will be going down.
Yes, but why don't we segregate it? That's Karan said, right? We have a segregation of the services, and when we have a segregation of services, then that problem can be taken care of.
I believe Logit would like to say that if the base OS hardware goes off,
Okay. Yeah. That's a limitation. Yes, that's a
yeah.
limitation on that. Once your base OS goes on, then all is gone, right? Do you guys think that there is any security risk on this, like using a virtualization?
Yes, again, it is similar to running application in the data center. Whatever the risks are applicable to running application in the data center, the same risk issues will be applicable to the application which are running in the VMs as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, do you know in 2017 we had a data security breach in virtualization, and which cost which which cost institute around $3.62 million. Do you know about this news? Okay, so yeah, security risk is always there, as Kanan said. And in 2017, there is an institute. I'm not remembering the name. I think Pohnman or something. There's an institute which has been gone through with that and lost almost $3.62 million. So if you want to look upon or Google it around, you can see that. But yeah, information is our currency right nowadays, and data is your currency, right? So if you don't have it, or if you have a proper the security risk already, then there is a chances that your security breach or data security breach will not happen. So virtualization has an issue which is a security risk. And as what Karan said, you can have a data security breaches on virtualization. That can be there in anywhere else as well, but it's a risk also. There's a security risk also in virtualization, that some people had a belief that we are using a virtualization, so the security risk data security breach risk will not be with them, but it can be, right? It can be there, and your data security breaches can happen, and that what has happened in 2017 with one of the institute.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.